Okay, we start now then.
All right.
All right. Okay. We were going to do one of the 10 major writings of Nichiren Daishonin is a 36-page go show. Okay, and we've taken a month off, and it's very technical. And there's going to be all kinds of stuff I got to tell you in advance of starting to read it, or it's going to be a waste of my time. Okay, so rather than fill this day up with information about that, and then we go off to try and meet again in 30 days, what I did not do during our sabbatical of being, we didn't meet in the month of July. I did not ever get around to going online myself and doing this last very, very most crucial special section of the orally transmitted teachings. It's the next to the last section. Okay, this is the one where you got the glosses on the left and glosses on the right that I told you came from his own Buddhahood. Okay, this doesn't follow anybody else's Buddhahood. This follows his Buddhahood. Okay, and his disciples should try to emulate his Buddhahood, his understanding, because otherwise you're never going to attain Buddhahood in your present form. There is no other way to do it other than his teaching. Okay, right? Okay, so I hope everybody can handle all that. It's just the way it is. It's not like something I'm making that way. That is the way it is, according to what I'm reading to you out loud in print that's already been authorized by people much smarter than myself. Okay, so first of all, I just want to get into, there was a question from somebody, and Nichiren's going to talk about this aspect. He's going to refer to the fact that Nam-myoho Renge-kyo was being actually referred to prior to his advent in qualifying Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Because anytime there was a reference to the true aspect of all phenomena, that is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the true aspect of all phenomena, the thing that all things possess in equal measure. Okay? So, but it seems to be confusion from some. Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody that's listening, I know you guys don't have a problem with this. Okay, but let me just read. The true aspect of all phenomena is not just a phrase in the latter day of the law, it's a reference to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? The ultimate truth or reality that permeates all phenomena and is in no way separate from them. There's nothing else like other than Nam-myoho Renge-kyo that would fit that bill. There's no other part of the teaching of Shakyamuni that would qualify that other than the law, right? Which was never identified because it wasn't time yet and nobody had the capacity to perceive it correctly. It says a principle expressed in the Expedient Means second chapter of the Lotus Sutra. The chapter states the true aspect of all phenomena can only be understood and shared between Buddhas because it's the doorway. If you know Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, you already are one. It's a matter of time. You're already on a path you can't get off of. So if you're already in a relationship with the true aspect of all phenomena, you're already in a relationship with Nam-myoho Renge-kyo without qualifying it as that. Because if it's not the latter day, it doesn't matter. If it's the essence of all things that you're referring to, okay, that's the true aspect of all phenomena. That's never embellished or qualified further than that prior to the Lotus Sutra. What Nichiren has done is qualified and given it its true name, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And he says that's the only way you're going to attain Buddhahood in the latter day.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so if you want to wait lifetimes, you can keep reading the Lotus Sutra. All right? Frankly, the Lotus Sutra, I just had a conversation with someone about this. So they think that they were of the understanding that we were to base all of our understanding on the Lotus Sutra. Yes, but in the latter day of the law, the Lotus Sutra becomes a provisional teaching. And in the latter day, we're supposed to use the Lotus Sutra as an overlay, a reference material for the truth that is revealed chapter by chapter by the Daishonin in the orally transmitted teachings. That's why this was created. That's why Nikko, Nikko, maintained and kept it, and that's why it's again, I've been trying to say this. This is not the same definition and delineation as the one that's embellished in the Lotus Sutra. Because that one's talking about a bunch of spooky, weird kind of Buddhas that are off in different lands and different worlds and all this kind of thing. This is 100,000% Earth, us, the 9 worlds, bringing forth the 10th. Understanding correctly what the teaching was trying to say 2,000 years ago when it couldn't reveal the truth yet. Okay, do you understand? Okay, so a principle expressed in the Expedient Means second chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the chapter states, the true aspect of all phenomena can only be understood and shared between Buddhas. The reality consists of the appearance, nature, entity, power, influence, and internal cause, relation, latent effect, manifest effect, and their consistency from beginning to end. What are those? The 10 factors. Okay? The Expedient Means chapter defines the true aspect of all phenomena as the 10 factors of life, from appearance through their consistency from beginning to end, which describes the unchanging aspect of life common to all phenomena. Everything goes into non-substantiality, comes out, gestates into a process of formation until it has form. If it's a zygote, it becomes a fully formed human. Okay? If it's a planet, it's got to accumulate enough dust and gravitational pull to formulate itself. Okay? Do you understand? Okay. So, unchanging aspect of life common to all phenomena. That only describes Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. All right? Since the 10 factors exist in any of the being of the 10 worlds, there can be no fundamental distinction between a Buddha and an ordinary person. This is where the 3,000 realms comes from, theoretically. Okay? All right, so this revelation of the 10 factors of life thus established a theoretical basis for the universal attainment of Buddhahood. Theoretical Ichinen Sanzen through seated meditation of utilizing the teachings of Tiantai and the Makashikan. Great concentration and insight. Everybody's with me, right? Everybody's following everything I'm saying. Okay. Based on this passage of the Expedient Means chapter, Tiantai established the philosophical system of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. In his 1271 work titled The True Aspect of All Phenomena, which is a Gosho titled this phrase, the true aspect of all phenomena, in which Nichiren qualifies, that's really Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? Nichiren defined all phenomena as all living beings and their environments in the 10 worlds, and the true aspect as the law of Myoho Renge-kyo, the ultimate reality permeating all living beings and their environments in any of the 10 worlds. The 9 worlds and the 10 worlds come together, okay, and create the true 3,000 realms in a single moment of life, okay? All phenomena, he said, are manifestations of this universal law, can only be Nam-myoho Renge-kyo according to his teachings. Phenomena and ultimate truth are inseparable, which is exactly what the teaching is, and non-dual. They are not separate, even though they seem to be. Okay? Okay, and I got to do one other one out of the dictionary because there's going to be one of these things that's going to come up. The 3 categories of illusion. I know you've probably all heard of that. Who could tell me what the 3 categories of illusion are, though? Hell, if I could, if I hadn't looked it up again. Now, once I read it, I go, oh, yeah, that's right. But that's the whole reason why we study and 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 study, because we can never remember all this. Okay, and that's why we chant Daimoku every day and every day and every day and every day and every day, because we can't sustain the life condition of Buddhahood if we don't do that.
Yes, right.
Okay, so 3 categories of illusion, also 3 illusions, a classification of illusions established by Tentai. So what do we really practice more on? We really practice Tentai's understanding of an explanation. Okay? No, we actually practice on the basis of the Daishonin's, because that's what I was just talking about. What I'm saying is the Daishonin's understanding comes more from what he's getting out of Tentai, having already broken it sine down, than he would have gotten out of it from a raw reading of the Lotus Sutra. Do you understand? where Lord Shakyamuni is 16 feet tall and king of the universe. Okay? So, one, illusions of thought and desire. 2, illusions innumerable as particles of dust and sand. And 3, illusions about the true nature of existence. The illusions of thought and desire are illusions to be eradicated by persons of the two vehicles, voice hearers and cause awakened ones. Okay? So does that have any goddamn thing to do with us? No, we came out of the womb as bodhisattvas of the earth. Okay? Okay. All right. Voice hearers and cause awakened ones, former and middle day of the law. They couldn't become actual bodhisattvas of the earth in the absence of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. In the absence of that, they couldn't become Buddhas in their single lifetime, in their present form. They had to wait until the future, like Shakyamuni talked about. Someday, many lifetimes from now, you will be called bright something. Everything's bright. Okay. Okay, voice hearers and cause awakenings. And bodhisattvas, okay? But we're talking about bodhisattvas of the theoretical teaching. Do you understand? Okay. Now, okay. So, the other two categories of illusions are those that bodhisattvas alone go on to eliminate. Okay, do you understand what he's saying there? He's saying that the process of bodhisattva is a process of discernment that's a very personal circumstance that only you can take yourself through that door. Okay, to understand, it's not all these big spooky guys that are supernatural. I'm supernatural. Okay, so what he's basically saying there is that bodhisattvas alone go on to eliminate. All right, so he qualified they were all together as part, but at the end, then he said there's two categories of illusion that only those that are bodhisattvas alone go on to eliminate on their way to Buddhahood. It's those things that make them think there are voice hearers and cause awakened ones and bodhisattvas instead of seeing the three vehicles replaced by the one vehicle. That's the whole point. If they didn't get that out of Lotus Sutra, then they missed it. They're still thinking, I gotta have lifetimes as a voice hearer, I gotta have lifetimes as a cause awakened one, I gotta have lifetimes as a bodhisattva. You don't have to have lifetimes plural ever. Okay? Then, that they go on to eliminate, illusions that they go on, that bodhisattvas go on to eliminate. It's not eliminated by cause awakened ones or voice hearers. Illusions of thought and desire, now this is going to break it all down. Illusions of thought and desire cause people to suffer in the sixth paths and the threefold world. In other words, they never got to voice hearer, cause awakened one, okay? They never got into the upper three worlds, not the 10th world of Buddhahood, but in the upper realms, okay? They're trapped in those 6 lower realms. They never get to hear the naming the words of the truth, all right? Illusions of thought and desire cause people to suffer in the 6th paths. We don't suffer in the 6th paths, okay? And the threefold world. Illusions of thought are distorted perceptions of truth, okay, and are primarily mental and learned. So your inability to you learn what's the word I'm looking for? Slander. You learn slander instead of correct teaching. You think you're told that the slander is correct. You don't know any better. That's still slander, right? Let me say it again. Though the body is nothing but a temporary. Illusions of thought and desire cause people to suffer in the 6 paths and the threefold world. Illusions of thought are distorted perceptions of the truth and are primarily mental and learned. They consist of the 5 false views and the 5 delusive inclinations. Now, do you remember when I read this to you not long ago? Let's go into it again because these are real important for you to remember. The 5 false views are as follows. Though the body is nothing but a temporary union of the 5 components, one mistakenly thinks of the self as a separate or independent entity. And though nothing in the universe can belong to an individual, one mistakenly views that which surrounds one as one's own possession. So what did that just say? Let me read it again. Though the body is nothing but a temporary union of the 5 components. You're with me up to there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. One mistakenly thinks that you're Tom forever. I was Tom before. I'm a reincarnation of somebody that now I'm taking on. No. You're always a temporary gathering of the 5 components, and those 5 components are always changing when you're in non-substantiality. That's why they separate, and you are no longer an individual.
Right.
Okay? Because everything's got to get tweaked. Your appearance, your form is going to get tweaked. Everything is going to get your ability to perceive, your ability to conceive, your ability to communicate, your ability to be who you really are. Okay? All right. So all of that, everything gets tweaked based on what? Karma. What we did in this lifetime. That's how we make those little advancements or make those little detriments. Okay? All right? And still stay in the zone. Do you get it? You're not guaranteed to move forward. You're guaranteed not to move backward. Okay? You can stay in the same spot for as long as you think incorrectly about the truth. If you think you're separate or individual, you're not. You are Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is everything. So how could you be separate or individual? It's not even logical. Okay? This is logical in my mind. Okay, although people read it, it's like, oh, we come apart into 5 pieces or something like that. No, these are aspects of our karma that get tweaked, not physical things. Okay, the 5 components aren't physical things, right? They're aspects of the mind. Yes. All right. Form obviously is required for mind to exist. By the way, so that's okay. So, all right. Though the body is nothing but a temporary union of the 5 components, one mistakenly thinks of the self as separate or an independent entity, and though nothing in the universe can belong to an individual because nothing can, one mistakenly views that everything around me I own. I own this land, I own this house, I own this whatever. I own this wife. I own this life. No. Okay? It's a reflection of what you've already created. And with that attitude, you just created a whole bunch more. Okay? So, that's 1. 2 is one erroneously believes either that life is totally annihilated at death without continuance in any form, or that life persists after death in some eternal, unchanged form, such as a soul, or going to heaven. Right? Because when you go to heaven, you stay whoever you were when you went there, right? Forever. God sounds pretty up. 3, one does not recognize the law of cause and effect.
Right.
That's real ignorance. But it's available for you to have. Okay?
Right.
You choose whether or not you have that ignorance. That's karmic. That's not based on anything. If it was, my parents told me that. Well, yeah, you chose your parents through the causes you made. Don't ever forget that. That's why you can't get rid of that responsibility. It's a reflection of you. Okay, 5. One views erroneous precepts or practices as the way to enlightenment. So, for instance, he's going to mention the Brahma way. Okay, what's the Brahma way? Anybody know? It's actually abstinence from sexual activity, right? Okay? It's for monks, nuns, not us. We couldn't have kids. The species would go, extinct.
Right.
Okay? So everybody cannot be a monk because they're supposed to remain pure by not having. How can that be a solution to anything? Think it through. Really, no. It's got to be just total bullshit. Somebody just decided to get moralistic. I don't get it. Okay, and the Daishonin right here is saying if you believe that, then you're fucked up. Excuse me, you're deluded.
Yes.
You're deluded.
Very much so.
Okay, so excuse me, I use the F word. Pardon me if it. Hopefully, I got it by everybody. One views erroneous precepts or practices as the true way to enlightenment. The 5 delusive inclinations are greed, anger, foolishness, arrogance, and doubt. The 3 poisons plus the next 2. They arise in relationship to the 5 false views. Okay, they arise because of those false views. The false views are the basis of that arrogance. Okay, the 5 delusive inclinations are greed. Okay, that has to take a rocket science to figure out that's probably not a good thing. Foolishness couldn't be. Arrogance, no, that's the first of the 10 big slanders. And doubt, we got to have, and faith, no, none of these things. They all arise from those 5 false views of self and not seeing everybody as part of the same thing equally. And that's the view we're trying to teach here, is that you view everything as being inseparable, everything is the same. Okay, that's why if you wanted to go do shoju somewhere and meet somebody from a different religion, you wouldn't start trying to talk about those things other than the things that can't be denied, that we're all the same, we're all human beings, we're all brothers and sisters. All of those kind of true things everybody says. You can get around in Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and explaining the front end so that they don't think you're an apostate. Okay? At any rate, that's the way I did it. Hence, in the category of illusions of thought, the 5 false views are regarded as primary and the 5 delusive inclinations as secondary. Get rid of the first ones, you won't have the second ones. In contrast to the chiefly mental illusions of thought and the illusions of desire are emotions and inborn. Pardon me, the illusions of desire are emotional and inborn. Okay, so let me say that again. Hence, in the category of illusions of thought, the 5 false views are regarded as primary and the 5 delusive inclinations are secondary. In contrast to the chiefly mental illusions of thought, the illusions of desire are emotional and inborn. What does that mean? Why does he separate them? It's because it's not just thought. It's falling in love. It's being attracted. That desire that makes you want to have intercourse that may manifest another living being. Do you understand? Those desires cannot be eliminated or the human race will disappear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? And so then, how could they be so bad or so wrong or so judgmentally described in everything? I mean, it's a part of the reality of life.
Yes.
Okay, so are emotional and inborn. If they're emotional, that means that they're going to flip around in whatever life condition you're in, whatever you're feeling is independent to you. It's not necessarily even real. It's you. It's your emotion. Okay, and inborn means it's natural. It's a natural part of you that cannot be taken away. It's inborn. You can't take something that's inborn away. Okay? And so these include greed, anger, and foolishness, arrogance, and arise in connection with the various affairs and phenomena of the threefold world, not because of distorted perceptions of the truth. Illusions innumerable as particles of dust and sand are illusions that prevent. Now, did you see how they made the last distinctions? They said, okay, it's these 3 kinds of illusions. These include greed, anger. These illusions include greed, anger, foolishness, arrogance, and arise in connection with the various affairs and phenomena of the threefold world. So this is all manifested and stimulated by reality, by living in the 9 worlds. Okay, these illusions. Okay, all right. Not because of distorted perceptions of the truth. It's not about your mind. It's about your environment influencing you. Okay? Other things influencing you. Okay? Illusions innumerable as particles of dust and sand are illusions that prevent bodhisattvas from saving others. To save others, bodhisattvas must be well versed in innumerable teachings, both religious and secular. This second category of illusions arises when the bodhisattvas try to master these teachings. That's why it didn't apply to us. I told you that. Illusions about the true nature of existence are illusions that prevent bodhisattvas from attaining enlightenment. So this must be the two illusions that they overcome. Did you remember what I said here? Somewhere about the bodhisattvas have two more illusions that they must overcome. That actually then establish them as either hitting the near stage of the 51st stage or the 52nd stage, according to Moksha Khan. They either can't go backwards, okay, or become Buddhas in their present form. They become enlightened. Okay? Those are the two illusions. If you study all this stuff to the point that you can. Illusions about the true nature of existence are illusions that prevent bodhisattvas, not anybody else, from attaining enlightenment or from awakening to the truth of the middle way. What's the truth of the middle way? Not temporary existence, not non-substantiality. The truth of the middle way is a little bit of both, right? Okay. So okay. Now do you understand? Okay, because understanding that middle way then allows you to understand eternity in both directions. Okay. Now you can understand the truth because you understand what's eternal. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. From beginning to no end. From no beginning to no end. Okay. In the specific teaching, these illusions, and I'm always looking at you for some reason. I don't know why. I just, you're at the end of the table, so I don't want you to think that I'm directing all of this at you, dear, because I love you and I know that you understand. Okay. In the perfect teaching, they are divided into 42, and last and most deeply rooted of which is called fundamental darkness. By eliminating fundamental darkness, one attains Buddhahood in great concentration and insight. Tiantai states that the three categories of illusion are eliminated through meditation aimed at perceiving the unification of the three truths in a single mind, which we've read before, which is again the same thing. One mind understanding, non-substantiality, temporary existence, and the middle way. Specifically, the illusions of thought and desire are eliminated by perception of the truth of non-substantiality, which we already have, so we don't have to worry about that part. And illusions innumerable as dust particles of sand and dust are eliminated by perception of the truth of temporary existence, and illusions about the nature of existence are eliminated by perception of the truth of the middle way. So this is all about understanding the true nature of reality. Okay? When he talks about the three categories of illusion, these are the misunderstandings, the misperceptions, the twists that we can do. When I use the word twisted, I'm not being a pejorative, like, oh, you did something twisted. I'm saying you got one thought and you turned it into something that it wasn't intended to be. It wasn't intentional and it wasn't with malice. It was done with a seeking spirit, but unfortunately it wasn't correct. And when that's the case, it must be corrected on the spot, period. Right. There's no dilution to that responsibility. If you're in front of a gang of people that have some notion, then you let them kick your ass if you have to. But they're not gonna have enough to kick back at you. So let's go. I'm gonna now read. Now, there's something from the Lotus Sutra I'm also gonna have to read, because he's going to go right into something, and I need you to remember that this is here, and this is from the introduction chapter, and we didn't read the Lotus Sutra text because the Daishonin doesn't refer to the Lotus Sutra text that much. He refers to phrases, okay, and then he adds the contemporary meaning of the latter day of the law and Nam Myoho Renge Kyo to those phrases. He actually remakes those phrases into a more profound meaning. We're going to be talking about virtue storehouses, the first thing of this on page 207. Okay? And you're not going to remember virtue storehouse from the first chapter. Do you remember anything from the first chapter, introduction? That's why I'm reading this again as soon as I'm done. As soon as we get through those major writings, I'm going to go ahead and reread the OTT one more time without getting into it with so much parsement. Hopefully, you can go back to something I've already done, and it'll be fluid this time, because you'll see that it actually is all fluid. It's a fluid thought process of reality. So let me start, I should say, on page 207, and the title is The Essential Passage in Each of the 28 Chapters of the Lotus Sutra. Okay, and it's on page 207. It says, a total of 28 essential points to be kept secret. Okay, why? Because the Daishonin is defining these according to his own enlightenment. It doesn't necessarily coincide with the enlightenment as it's been attributed to other people that preceded him. And he could get in a lot of trouble with the government for saying things don't mean this, don't mean that, they mean this. And it's the latter day of the law. And that's all he's doing. His whole teaching is they don't mean that, they mean this. Because it's the latter day of the law. It's all changed. We cannot attain enlightenment through the Lotus Sutra anymore. We cannot attain enlightenment through Tendai's theoretical constructs. We'll only come up with a theoretical understanding and think that we've attained the true understanding when we haven't. Okay? And it's very difficult, because you can think you know what you don't know so easily if you don't go deep enough to find out the depth of what's being said. So I just translator's note first. In this section, a passage from each chapter of the sutra is explained basically in 4 ways. They are glosses on the right, glosses on the left. They don't occur each time. Those are both just points of reference to the elements that he, through his enlightenment, was utilizing to come up with the thought that's actually expressed. Okay, they are glosses on the right, glosses on the left. Those are his thoughts. Alternative reading means read it as Nichiren reads it. Okay, rather than as it's written by the people that have recorded the Lotus, Kumera Jiva. Not all, and then 4 is summary. Everything is going to have a summary where he wraps it up, and it's very concise and it's very to the point, and this is the truth. And this is where he's laying out the secret teachings. And if you don't believe him, it isn't my problem, it's yours. Okay? This is the real deal here. He's going to bust open a bunch of crap here. I'm going to love telling you. See? He already said it so many times already. But now in the recap, he's saying make sure you didn't miss this point. All right? So, introduction, chapter 1, text, the Bodhisattva Virtue Storehouse. It's in parenthetical because it's actually not following, has already fully understood in his mind the true aspect that is without outflows. That is without outflows. That it was without karma. It's original. Okay? It has no change. It is the source. It is the same thing that everything is. Okay? So what is that? The true aspect that is without outflows. There's only one true aspect, okay? And he's just describing the reality that it has no outflows. That's why it's referred to as the true aspect. It's the original thing, okay? Okay, this Bodhisattva Virtue Storehouse has already fully understood in his mind the true aspect that is without outflows. Okay, glosses on the right, without outflows, the 10 worlds. Okay, true aspect, to understand for the first time. Okay, because we can think we understand something. I know for sure myself, in the process of reading and rereading, I realize, oh, I thought I understood what I didn't really understand clearly yet, because I hadn't really contemplated it enough or had enough other reference points from other teachings of the Gosho to say, oh, okay? Because the Daishonin always has to write in a very protective way. because this is the third doctrine. This is a different teaching than the Lotus Sutra. In fact, it's an updated Lotus Sutra for the latter day of the law. That's why he says in the latter day, this sutra means nothing more than the Daimoku. And he's going to say back here later, if you think you can still attain enlightenment with the Lotus Sutra, good luck. Okay? So, I think I made myself clear in that comment.
Yes.
Glosses on the right, without outflows, the 10 worlds. Why the 10 worlds? Because the 10 worlds includes the world of enlightenment. The world of enlightenment is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo without outflows. Get it? Okay, so true aspect, to understand for the first time the correct meaning of those phrases from the Lotus Sutra. Okay? The true aspect is to understand for the first time to understand correctly what the intent of those phrases are. He's saying the intent 2,000 years before he was even born was this book, was this teaching called the Lotus Sutra, and here are all these references, but in reality they were all references for me to clarify now in the latter day of the law. That's essentially what he is qualifying. And that's why he could get in big trouble if he's not careful how he says that. Okay? So, then we go to the glosses on the left. He says, without outflows, the wonderful law. Okay? So if he's saying without outflows, the 10 worlds, and he's saying without outflows, the wonderful law, what is he qualifying? That all the 10 worlds are the wonderful law. There's no difference between the two. Okay? Huh?
Is that true?
Aspect of all phenomena includes, don't forget, everything that's bad as well as everything that's good. There is nothing left out. So you can't make distinctions. That's why you can't make those, and he's going to talk about this. Okay, that's why I like this section. I was saying I've got to do this in a free way where I can kick, and we'll go as far as we can, and I'll kick again, and we'll go as far as we can until I get done, and then I'm going to start over. All right? So, without outflows, the wonderful law. What's the wonderful law? Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, right? Okay. True, he says. Now, he's getting all of these words from this single little thing here where it says, this Bodhisattva virtue storehouse in parentheses, because it's from another sentence. But he's still talking about the same guy, so he continues it as though it's the same thing. Has already fully understood in his mind the true aspect that was without outflows. He's basically saying, this guy that was back in the introduction chapter had already understood the true aspect of all phenomena, which is the original state. Okay, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the original state. That's what you got. That's why it can be what it is. If it isn't the original state, then it's just another phrase of cool words. It's just another mantra. It's just another mantra. There's already other mantras. What is the difference between this mantra and all other? This is the supreme mantra. Okay? So, true, meaning beginningless time, kuan. True, the eternal and unchanging truth. The eternal kuan ganjo and unchanging truth. Throughout time, it does not deviate from being the middle way. Okay? It's never temporary existence. It's never non-substantiality permanently. It's always what we're experiencing right now in the 9 worlds without realizing that the 10th world is there for us to take if we just reach out and grab it. And then aspect, the truth that functions in accordance with changing circumstances. So the reality is that as everything changes moment by moment, this aspect of the truth of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo does not change. Okay? It stays consistent. That's the truth that functions in accordance with changing circumstances. Again, it's Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. All right? So now, alternative reading it like he reads it, through the true aspect, and I've got true aspect circled because he's saying through Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, that is without outflows, his mind has already gained full understanding. And according to the Daishonin, that's the way all Buddhas become Buddhas, isn't it? Through Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, they, because through Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, that is without outflows, their minds already have gained. Again, there's nobody in the threefold. Okay, let me say it, put it here. Hang on, slow down, Tom. All right, what is he already qualified here just a couple chapters earlier? That there is no living being that is not a bodhisattva of the earth. We're all of the original state. We're all of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So through the true aspect that we are all the same, that is without outflows because it's the original state of existence, his mind has already gained full understanding, this virtue storehouse. So, okay, continue, Tom. All right. His mind is, okay, that's alternative reading. He's understanding that as himself. Okay? That's what this is actually saying to me. That's what he's saying to me. Alternative reading. If you want to read it like I read it, it's talking about me. And that's the same way I read it. It's talking about me then. If it's talking about you, then it's talking about me. Okay? All right. Summary. This passage states that one first, and so what he's qualified is that understanding of the true aspect of all phenomena already existed prior to the preaching of the Lotus Sutra.
Right.
Okay? Prior to the preaching of the Lotus Sutra by Shakyamuni.
Right.
All right? Summary. This passage, huh?
It has always.
It's always been there. Burning torch through the Lotus Sutra. It couldn't have been the same 28 chapters we just read. Okay? It's the concept of the inseparability of all things and the eternity of the original state.
The law.
The law is the law is the law, as we say so often around here. Summary. This passage states that when one first understands that one's mind has always been enlightened, this is the attainment of Buddhahood. Now, how do we understand that? Do we have come to some epiphany? Actually, it's when we come to understand that we must have faith in the Daishonen's teaching. You can't come to that naturally without faith in the Daishonen's teaching. Okay? It won't occur otherwise. The missing component is the most critical one, faith. Okay? So he's saying again, that is to say that when one first understands through the Daimoku. So what he's saying, how do you understand this? By chanting. You activate the reward mind. You reactivate the part of you that is Buddha, your 10th world.
Yes.
Right? Okay. That is to say that when one first understands through the Daimoku, from chanting, that one is the entity, not an entity. That one is the entity of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. What have you just become? As he promised you could be.
The Buddha.
Identical to him.
Yes.
Identical to him. When one first understands through the Daimoku that one is the entity. Not just Nichiren, me too. And he says right here, I've made you identical to me.
Yes.
They're the she and all that stuff I read you several chapters ago, so I'm going to read it again and then pounce on these places where he pulls out dynamic truth that differs from anything that's said in the Lotus Sutra.
Right. Right.
Okay?
Yes.
Frankly.
Yes.
Okay? And I'm not dissing the Lotus Sutra. I'm saying it wasn't time yet. And therefore it was not. That's why we have this teaching.
Yes.
All right? Because it is the time now. All right? Expedient means. Can you see how long this might take me?
Yeah.
2. Chapter 2. Expedient means. Text. But that these phenomena, are part of an abiding law. Now, do you know what abiding means? It's always there. Always there. Abiding is your ever existent. Okay? It always exists. All right? Like oxygen on Earth for life to exist. It's an abiding element. Okay? All right. Text. But that these phenomena, which he's going to refer to the words these phenomena, are part of an abiding law, ho. And again, ho, ho. That the characteristics of the world are constantly abiding. Okay, now what did he just say? He's going to explain it. I'm just going to ask you, can you understand anything from just the phrase with those? Okay, he highlights characteristics of the world, and he highlights these phenomena, and then he explains. But these phenomena, ho, are part of an abiding law. Ho, he's talking about Nam Myoho Renge Kyo when he talks about the abiding law, right? Mm-hmm. That the characteristics of the world are constantly abiding. He's saying because everything in the world is an aspect of the law, it's always the same, just like the law. It's constantly changing, moment by moment, and constantly remaining the same. Do you understand? It's going through the phases of birth, old age, sickness, and death, just like we will. Earth is. All right? Okay, so glosses on the right. Now he's going to get into it. Glosses on the right. These phenomena, the supreme truth. What's the supreme truth? The understanding of the original state and your true identity. Okay, that's the supreme truth. If you've got that, you don't need $1 million. You don't need anything else. You don't even need good health because you're not worried about how long you're going to live because you're just going to be born again. What you want is the thing that's going to make you come back as a Buddha over and over and over and over and over and over and over eternally. And for that to be the case, you are helping people in each lifetime over and over and over in an ever expansive way. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Yeah. Okay, there is no greater than that. There's nothing greater than that. So that's why it's called the supreme truth. These phenomena, the supreme truth, the characteristics of the world, that's worldly truth. That's the 9 worlds. The supreme truth is the 10th world. Do you understand? But the 10th world's always in the 9 worlds. It's just not recognized. It's not manifest. It's not turned on. Takes hearing the name and the words of the truth to turn it on, right?
Right.
And then it can never be turned off.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay. So again, let me text. But that these phenomena, ho, are part of an abiding law. That the characteristics of the world are constantly abiding. Glosses on the right. These phenomena, the supreme truth. Everything is the same. These phenomena, all these phenomena are Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, the supreme truth. Okay? The characteristics of the world. That's the changing circumstance. That's earth. That's the 9 worlds. That's reality. That always contains the 10th world, but it's always still got the delusion of the 9th worlds as well. You follow? All right. Worldly truth. Glosses on the left. These phenomena, the theoretical teaching, and the characteristics of the worlds is the essential teaching. There he's qualifying it in 2 different ways. If you want to talk about the phenomena, they're theoretical. Because in the absence of faith, they're not real. In the absence of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. When he says theoretical teaching, what is he talking about? Talking about the Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra is a theoretical teaching. Frankly, I'll say it for the 50th time. I'm not disrespecting it. It is a theoretical teaching. Okay? Only by adding Nam Myoho Renge Kyo does it become actual. So that's why he says these phenomena, the theoretical teaching, the characteristics of the world, the essential teaching, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, the things that look like they're just the 9 worlds are really the 10th world as well. Do you understand? They're not less just because they're not Buddhahood.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get to Buddhahood unless you stay alive, right? All of those other things sustain you to the point until you get there. Right? You're not born a Buddha. You're born a Buddha, but only from the perspective that you can manifest that.
Right.
Okay? The wisdom only comes from the activity of study and chanting Daimoku. It's faith and practice and study. Okay, so the faith allows you to do the correct practice. The faith allows you to do the correct study
Right.
and come up with the correct understanding. And that's what he's trying to guide you through here. Okay, he's basically saying, don't do the Makashikan anymore. Chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That's what he's saying. He's saying it's time to leave behind the old teachings and embrace the one for the latter day of the law. Okay? Alternative reading. Because this law ho is eternal, both its unchanging nature and its manifestations, namely the characteristics of the world, are constantly abiding. Because the law is eternal, both its unchanging nature is eternal, and the manifestations that come from that unchanging nature are eternal and constantly abiding. It's always that way. It's always that way. It's always the 10 worlds. It's always birth, old age, sickness, and death for everything. Okay? Summary. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Do I sound like I'm talking out my ass? Are you following me?
Yes.
Okay. Summary. This passage states the constantly abiding principle, namely that the minds of living beings are and have always been Buddhas. All the 10,000 phenomena have always been the embodiments of enlightenment, the embodiments of the original state of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, regardless of how they looked in their diluted form. In their true aspect, they're all the same. We're all the same. We're all completely different. There's none of you that are like me. Thank God. Okay? But we're all identical. We're all true believers. If my understanding is correct, right? Okay, so that's what that means. Summary: the passage says constantly abiding principle, namely that the minds of living beings are and have always been Buddhas. In fact, so in other words, nobody is without the Buddha nature. All the 10,000 phenomena have always been an embodiment of the original state, not of enlightenment. Simile and parable, chapter 3, text: mounting the jeweled vehicle and proceeding directly to the place of palace. And he's highlighting here, going to highlight mounting this jeweled vehicle and proceeding directly to the place of practice. What do you think that would pertain to? In your understanding of the Daishonin's Buddhism as we've discussed it for all these years, how would you read that? I read mounting the jeweled vehicle as getting after Kosen Rufu as the Buddha, based on my faith in Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? And proceeding directly to the place of practice, to me, means that I start doing shakabuku immediately. I am here for the purpose of qualifying the truth. Okay? That's my mission. That's my goal. That's my desire. That's what I pray about all the time. Okay? So, let's see what he has to say. Glosses on the right. Mounting. One who accepts and upholds. And he has the Lotus Sutra. Okay? This jeweled vehicle, carts drawn by large white oxen, which is the Buddha nature, right? If you remember that from that chapter.
Right.
Proceeding directly to the place of practice. The ordinary mortal, that would be me, is none other than the highest state, Buddhahood. I am the Buddha, just exactly as I am. He's saying that nobody had ever said that before. When is that said? When is that said in the Lotus Sutra?
No, Nichiren's.
Only Nichiren's teaching. Okay? Glosses on the left, this jeweled vehicle, the Daimoku. Glosses, place of practice, the place of highest reward, which is Buddhahood, the state of Buddhahood, knowing that you're the Buddha. That's all that is knowing you're the Buddha. And then counting on yourself to have to do what the Buddha must do in any circumstance. Okay? Summary. This passage describes how one becomes aware of the Buddha vehicle within oneself
Yes.
and enters the palace of oneself. Chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is what is meant by entering the palace of oneself. Okay, so what is the palace of oneself? Living your life with the understanding of the truth of your true identity. That you were a disciple of Nichiren, that you were a bodhisattva of the earth, that you're here to do Kosen Rufu, even if it's not accomplished in your lifetime, you're going to foundationalize its accomplishment in the future.
Exactly.
And you will not begrudge your life.
Right.
Okay? So, this passage describes how one becomes aware of the Buddha nature within oneself. This is a process of you discover oh, it's me too. He keeps saying it's me, but I don't believe it's me. How could it be me? I don't qualify. Okay? And so I hold me back.
Yes.
So becoming aware is when I finally get the shit out of my brains, okay, and read what it's saying and go, I am a thus come one, of original enlightenment, eternally endowed with the three bodies. I'm a disciple of the original teacher. Okay? This passage describes how one becomes aware of the Buddha vehicle within oneself and enters the palace of oneself. What's the palace of oneself? Your true identity. That's when you don't count on a piece of paper outside of you to change your problems. You understand it's your life.
Yes.
Okay, you're chanting to that piece of paper, but you're not looking at it the same anymore. You're looking at it as a mirror, not as it help. Okay, that's the palace of oneself when you don't rely on anybody but you.
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't matter. You'll do Kosen Rufu yourself. You don't rely on anybody but you. All right, and chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is what is meant by entering the palace of oneself. So this applies to anybody and everybody that's doing that. Anybody can snap to what I'm talking about. None of this is that profound. It's all a matter of Daimoku. Really. You can read it 100 times, and if you don't chant Daimoku about what you've read, you're going to read it 100 more. You better chant a lot. I'm serious. I'm telling you, this is the process. And he already qualified that. He said, those who chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo and then try to find this truth, this wisdom. Belief and understanding. This cluster of unsurpassed jewels has come to us unsought. One of the most beautiful phrases from the Lotus Sutra, in my opinion. Because I wasn't seeking it, it found me. Glosses on the right, this cluster of unsurpassed jewels, the 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. Everybody understands that, right? That's the real 10th world. Glosses on the left, this cluster of unsurpassed jewels, the Daimoku, which afford that to occur, has come to us. It is ours as a matter of course. Why does he say that? What is that saying? This cluster of unsurpassed jewels, the Daimoku, has come to us. It is ours as a matter of course. As a matter of course. What does as a matter of course as an expression mean? It means couldn't change that anyhow.
Yeah.
Why? Why could we not have this Daimoku revealed to us? Because we're Buddhas of the original state. We're bodhisattvas of the earth. Our destiny is to know this. Our function is to know this and to share it. Do you follow? Again, it's such a beautiful thing. This cluster of unsurpassed jewels, the Daimoku, what you can do with the Daimoku when you can understand about life from understanding the original state, your original nature, has come to us, okay, period. Okay, it's come to us. We didn't come to it, it's come to us.
Can I say
Okay. Sure.
faith as the also.
Totally faith. This is all based on faith. Yes, this is all predicated on faith. In the absence of faith, there isn't anything that I've read or said it so far that is applicable.
Yeah.
It's only based on, I'm talking, this is true believer stuff, guys. When I said there are 7 secrets here, I didn't think I was talking to some rookies. Okay? This is for the real deal people. Okay? So it is ours as a matter of course. Why is it ours as a matter of course? Because we're Buddhas of the original state. We are the entities. We are all entities of the mystic law. We are entities of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and we have the wisdom to perceive that. That's what makes it so. When we see ourselves as Buddhas, that's when we are Buddhas in our present form. That's the teaching. Okay? Summary, this passage is saying that the body and mind, which have existed from the beginningless past, are inherently endowed with the eternal, unchanging nature, wonderful reality, the wonderful wisdom. So all living beings are inherently endowed with the 3 bodies. Okay? Therefore, there is no need to seek the true aspect outside of one's own mind. You don't need to read a bunch of other stuff. You don't need to read something this thick. You can just chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Oh my goodness, what a simplification and yet an incredible empowerment. 10 times more powerful than reading the book is to chant a single daimoku. 100 times, 1,000 times a single daimoku. You can't compare them. This is the teaching of the Daishonin, not mine. Okay? So again, therefore, Daishonin says, there is no need to seek the true aspect outside of one's own mind. So I stopped trying to seek it outside of my own mind. I sought it from my own mind to the Gohonzon. I chanted to attain clarity. I was sick and tired of running around and really still not. How could this happen? How could this happen? How could this happen? Okay? And everything changed once I took that responsibility to do it myself. And actually just believe what he's already saying. Well, if that's the case, then I must be the Buddha. Then I am the Buddha. But I gotta be. And I gotta quit doubting that. It's telling me over and over again. I can't even keep praying. I can't pray anymore. I used to pray every day, to attain enlightenment. When you believe it, you really actually have. You don't need to have that prayer every day. That's almost that's almost a doubt.
Yeah.
That's almost a doubt. I've already attained Buddhahood. I don't have to ask to attain Buddhahood. I have to ask for clarity that allows me to perceive and convey the truth correctly as the thus come one. But whether or not I'm capable of that, whether or not I am that, no question. Therefore, there is no need to seek the true aspect outside of one's own mind. No, I already am. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is what has come to us unsought. Fifth, medicinal herbs. Oh, good. Parable of medicinal herbs. Text again. There are sons of the Buddha. Okay, and as we've already discussed, what's the significance of being a son of the Buddha? And that's not a gender thing. Sons and daughters could just as easily say. What is the point? When you're the son of a Buddha, what? What is a Buddha? A Buddha is like a king of the Dharma realm, right? Their children are also kings and queens, whatever, of the Dharma realm. The point is that there's no separation between you and the original teacher. Again, there are sons of the Buddha who devote their mind solely to the Buddha way, constantly practicing mercy and compassion, knowing that they themselves will attain Buddhahood. Glosses on the right, constantly. For the 3 existences of past, present, and future. That means we've been doing this same thing of mercy and compassion, spreading the daimoku in every lifetime. In every lifetime. So this phenomena has actually preceded Earth. Would have to.
Yes.
Are you with me?
Yes.
They themselves. And he says all living beings. Okay, so let's go. Again, there are the sons of the Buddha who devote their minds solely to the Buddha way, constantly practicing mercy and compassion, knowing that they themselves will attain Buddhahood. Okay, throughout the three existences, mercy and compassion propagating the Daimoku, they themselves, all living beings, because everybody has the capacity for this to be the truth about. Glosses on the left, devote their minds to have full command of. Okay, how can that happen? You can only have full command through study and Daimoku. Because you can't just study and not do Daimoku. And you can't just do Daimoku and not study. Okay? So it's a combination of the two, because your mind is going to create things that you're not reading that are absolutely true. And that your life will prove to you, you got it. You got it. This is the thing you got to try and help people understand. Couldn't be said more clearly to yourself through your behavior and your result. Okay, so glosses on the left, devote to have full command of, constantly, always, every moment, knowing that they creating their own wisdom and becoming Buddhas. What's it talking about? What's he saying? Where does your wisdom, what process does your wisdom come from? Yes! Yes! Creating their own wisdom. That comes from chanting to the Gohonzon about who you are. What is this teaching? How am I? Am I the Buddha? You need to get to Buddhahood before you can really capitalize on all this. And if you haven't gotten there yet, if it's still, yeah, I understand, or I don't disbelieve, but I don't really apply it to me yet, I'm... When are you going to listen to what it's saying? You're not smarter than what it's saying. Yet you're deciding that you are by going against what it's saying, which is saying you already are. But no, you're saying you're not ready yet. No, you don't understand yet. Why? Then you don't believe what it's saying? How could you not understand? I mean, do you understand how exasperating this is for me? I'm sorry. I mean, it's really exasperating because it's said over. I've already read this over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Okay, knowing that they, creating their own wisdom, have become a Buddha. Summary, this passage makes absolutely clear the attainment of Buddhahood in times to come, each person based on what they freaking do to bring out their original state that nobody gave to them, the three bodies that they've had eternally. Whenever that happens to finally occur, it will happen. And they'll make it happen. And how will they make it happen? By embracing the Daimoku. This is the only way that any Buddha is able to bring forth this wisdom. That is, it refers to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. It refers to, this passage makes absolutely clear the attainment of Buddhahood in times to come by people finally chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and discovering the original state of life. Their 10th world, their Buddhahood, their original state. Bestowal of Prophecy, chapter 6. We're right on time, guys. Maybe. Bestowal of Prophecy, where the Buddhas are, he will constantly carry out Brahma practices and for immeasurable kalpas will uphold and embrace the Buddha and the law. The Lotus Sutra reads the Buddha law. Okay, and the Daishonin, the Buddha and the law, instead of the sutra itself says the Buddha law. He's qualifying a difference there, a separation, if you will, because it's based on you accepting his teaching that you're able to become the Buddha. So the Buddha and the law. Why does he separate the law now here from the Buddha law, from the phrase from the Lotus Sutra? Because he has now identified what the law is. They could only say Buddha law in the Lotus Sutra because it hadn't been identified yet as Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. It is now, as of what he's writing here in the orally transmitted teachings, is been qualified Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. That's why it's called Buddha law. The Buddha law of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay. Pardon me, the Buddha and the law, of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Glosses on the right. Where the Buddhas are, the living beings of the 10 worlds are Buddhas who are the true aspect. They are Buddhas of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Constantly carry out Brahma practices, will constantly abide throughout three existences. In other words, he's not saying won't have sex. Okay, he's not talking about that. He's talking about their behavior as human beings. For immeasurable kalpas, the earthly desires are enlightenment, and the sufferings of birth and death are nirvana. For immeasurable kalpas, that doesn't change. Those are the motivational realities of life and death that take us to where we wanted to go from birth. Glosses on the left, for immeasurable kalpas, etc. One who is affected by all the karmic impediments. Summary. When this passage speaks of constantly, and you heard constantly several times, right?
Yeah.
When this passage speaks of constantly or for immeasurable kalpas, it is referring to the wonderful law that exists in one's original state of life. It is referring to Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. It is referring to Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, okay? So whenever he talks about constantly, that's what we are. We're constantly Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, aren't we? And immeasurable kalpas, that's what we are, aren't we? Immeasurable kalpas, beginningless time is freaking immeasurable kalpas, okay? There we go, done. All right, our original state of life. In one's original state of life is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, okay? 7, Parable of the Phantom City. When I look at that far off time, it seems like today. Glosses on the right, that far off time, major world system, dust particle kalpas ago, when Shakyamuni attained Buddhahood. Glosses on the left, when I look at that time, the time when the Buddha was in the world. Summary, this passage is speaking of the original one moment of life, which is also the Dharma realm, and saying that outside of the one moment of life, or the Dharma realm, the 6 paths and the 4 noble paths, worlds, do not exist. It is speaking of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, the one moment of life that permeates the 3 existences of past, present, and future. The word today indicates the today of the latter day of the law. So let's go back to the original phrase from the parable of the Phantom City. When I look at that far off time, it seems like today. He's saying that the day is the latter day of the law. All right? Right? Isn't that what I just read? Did I jump? I jumped. Oh, yeah, I jumped. I'm sorry. I screwed up with my ruler. This passage is speaking of the original one moment of life. The original state, okay? Beginningless time, Kuan. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, same thing, right? Yeah. Which is also the Dharma realm. Everything that exists, correct? Shares that single moment of life. Okay? And saying that outside of that one moment of life, or Dharma realm, or the Dharma realm, the 6 paths and the 4 paths do not exist. So in other words, outside of that one moment of life, there is no other existence other than that one moment of life. Everything in the universe is actually occurring one single moment at a time. And then it goes into past. It's no longer that moment. Do you understand? Okay. So he's saying it doesn't exist out of a single moment other than as a single moment. Nothing exists other than as the single moment that it is in a state of existence, because at any second, at any moment, it could go into non-substantiality.
Correct.
And at any moment after that, it could come out.
Yes.
Okay?
Correct.
Now you're with me. Good. It is speaking of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, your original state of life, right? The one moment of life that permeates the three existences. Your original state is the one thing that never changes about you, ever, right? That permeates the three existences of past, present, and future. The word today indicates today, the latter day of the law. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo time, not Lotus Sutra time.
No.
This is a provisional teaching now. Okay, that's what he's qualifying here.
Yes.
All right, prophecy of enlightenment for 500 disciples, chapter 8, text. When the poor man saw the jewel, his heart was filled with great joy. He's going to emphasize poor man, the jewel, his heart, and great joy. Okay, glosses on the right. Poor man, all the living beings in the country of Japan, slandering the law. Okay, he didn't add that, but that's why they're poor. All right, the jewel, the daimoku, the gohonzon, so few of them know about. All of them could have access to. Their arrogance keeps the propagation from reaching them. His heart, the mind and body, because outside of the mind and body, there is no Buddha, right? Great joy. Earthly desires are enlightenment, because it's only in life that we're able to experience Buddhahood. And the sufferings of birth and death are nirvana, because it's only in life that we're able to experience and enjoy Buddhahood. Glosses on the left, his heart, the form of the believing mind. The believing mind, the heart is the same thing. When he's talking about heart, mind, he's talking about the same thing each time. Summary. This passage refers to the great joy that one experiences when one understands for the first time that one's mind from the very beginning has been a Buddha. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is the greatest of all joys. What did this just describe? This is the 6th stage of practice when it occurs in any living being. The 6th stage of practice, of faith. This is understanding that you're a Buddha exactly as you are, and you always have been. You didn't just become one. That understanding then suddenly clarifies not only are you a Buddha now, but it also, in that same moment, you perceive the reality that if you're a Buddha now, then you had to have always been a Buddha. How could you have not been? Or at least, again, had that potentiality. If you had the potentiality now, it didn't grow out of nowhere. It had to be part of the original state, or it couldn't manifest now. Where's the cause and effect? This is the original cause. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is original cause. Okay, true cause, right? Okay, so great joy, the sufferings of, okay. Poor man, all living in the country of jewel, the daimoku, the gohonzon, the heart, the mind and body, great joy, earthly desires are enlightenment, the sufferings of birth, death, and nirvana. The heart form of a believing mind. Summary. The passage refers to the great joy that one experiences when one understands for the first time that one's mind from the very beginning has been a Buddha. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is the greatest of all joys. Because if you don't understand that part, you didn't really understand the full understanding of the fact that you're a Buddha right now. Okay? You didn't just suddenly become one. You always have been. That's why you are one right now. All right. 9. Prophecies conferred on learners and adepts. Page 212. Text, he dwells securely in the Buddha way. The Lotus Sutra reads the Buddha law and thereby seeks the unsurpassed way. And once again, Nichiren has redone the verbiage to Buddha way because Nam Myoho Renge Kyo exists now as he's talking about it at this moment. In the orally transmitted teachings, Buddha way, the entire Lotus Sutra. Okay? But in the latter day of the law, what is the entire Lotus Sutra? Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay? Unsurpassed way, the daimoku. Okay? Because in the latter day of the law, that's what the whole Lotus Sutra becomes. Right? The unsurpassed way. The Buddha way, as in Buddhas outside yourself, the unsurpassed way, the daimoku that allows you to perceive your own Buddha nature. You are the Buddha. Huge difference. Huge difference. Glosses on the left, Buddha way, broad and abbreviated discussions. Broad, meaning not really specific. Abbreviated, meaning not complete. Okay? and unsurpassed way, the essential point. So he's talking about this compared to Daimoku. Okay, that was what that was. The essential point. Alternative reading, though he dwells securely in the Buddha way, yet he seeks the unsurpassed way. Do you understand what that is? When we started practicing before we got to stage 6, okay, what we're seeking is to get to stage 6. That should be our goal, not benefit, but to attain Buddhahood. Correct?
Right.
All right, but all the time we've been seeking to get to that point. We've been going to meetings, we've been doing Shakabuku. We haven't realized anything, necessarily so deep about ourselves that we're Buddhists, but yet he seeks the uncertain. Okay, so though he dwells securely in the Buddha way, he's able to go to the Gohonzon, chant Daimoku, receive benefit, mitigate circumstances, manifest wisdom, yet he seeks, that's not enough. What he wants is Buddhahood, okay? What he wants is Buddhahood. He doesn't want reward.
Right.
He wants the great reward, okay? He doesn't want temporary rewards. Summary, the passage is saying that when one first comes to understand and realize the wonderful principle of the 3 bodies of the Buddha that we have always been endowed with, this is called seeking the unsurpassed way. This is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And again, this is when you get into the Daishonen's full teaching and you buy in to every damn word that's in this book. And it's all the truth.
Yes.
And you're able to validate it because you understand.
We live it.
How you've lived it. That's why you can express it. Okay? And you can't express it until you understand what the point is. And the point is you're already the Buddha. Be the responsible entity in your life. The teacher of the law, chapter 10. Text, know that persons such as these freely choose where they will be born. Okay? We've already said this a million times. This is the Daishonin reiterating it. Glosses on the right, freely choose the land of eternally tranquil light. Freely choose to be Buddhist. Okay? Summary, this passage is saying that outside of each instant of thought of our deluded minds, there is no Buddha mind. What is he qualifying there? That the deluded mind is simply deluded, that it's still the mind of the Buddha, and that it can manifest and come forth with the Buddha wisdom, even if in whatever shape it's in. There is no mind that doesn't have the capacity to express enlightenment or perceive enlightenment.
True.
With Nam-myoho Renge-kyo as an ingredient to that process. This passage is saying that outside of each instant of thought of our deluded minds, there is no Buddha mind. So in other words, he's clarifying, your Buddha mind is the same mind you have right now as a common mortal. Okay? The births and deaths of us living beings of the 9 worlds are the true reality, or nirvana. The truth is nirvana. Okay? Having and knowing the truth is total freedom. Okay? And hence we can freely choose. We freely choose how? We are free to choose. Okay. And hence we can freely choose. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is being free to choose. What is that saying? We choose to become Buddhists because we have to make efforts that are necessary to reveal that, to manifest that. So it's saying here, the births and deaths of the living beings of the 9 worlds are the true reality. They can make it or break it. They got the 10th world. Okay, everybody's all living in the 9, but the 10th is available. They freely choose whether or not they're going to believe or disbelieve. It's their karma. Everything about everything is based on those choices we make. Okay, and how they impact us karmically. Okay, chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is being free to choose Buddhahood. All right, the 10th world, the 9 worlds doesn't perceive. The emergence of the treasure tower, 11. This way one will quickly attain the unsurpassed Buddha way. Glosses on the right, Buddha way, accepting and upholding. Okay, the truth. Glosses on the left, unsurpassed Buddha way. The ordinary mortal is none other than the highest state, Buddhahood. Ordinary people are Buddhists. Okay, that's the unsurpassed Buddha way. Alternative reading, the unsurpassed Buddha way one has quickly attained. Okay, summary, this passage is saying that if one is an upholder, a person of the wonderful precepts of perfect and sudden enlightenment. What are the precepts of perfect and sudden enlightenment? What is the wonderful precept of perfect and sudden enlightenment? I just talked about it. It's the 6th stage of practice. So then what substantiates that? What's the support process to that? Again, this passage is saying that if one is an upholder, you've all been upholders since you got your Gohonzas, right?
Yes.
Okay, you've never been despisers or haters or, you've all had diligence. A person of this one, this passage is saying that if one is an upholder, a person of wonderful precepts and perfect and sudden enlightenment, and if one attains the 2 stages of near perfect and perfect enlightenment in a single moment of life, this is what it means to quickly attain. To chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is to quickly attain. Okay? So in other words, you could go through that through a causal circumstance, or you could just chant Daimoku. Okay? All right. Devadatta, 12. In the space of an instant, changed into a man. Summary. This passage is speaking of the change that occurs when one realizes that the 3 categories of illusion, which we spent time to understand, in their entirety are actually the 3 truths. And when one chants Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, the 3 categories of illusion are none other than the 3 virtues of the Dharma body, wisdom, and emancipation. Don't forget that included the 3 poisons, right? Which we already know turn into Dharma body, emancipation, Dharma body, wisdom, and emancipation, right? Okay, we transform. Okay, and encouraging devotion, chapter 13, we care nothing for our bodies or lives, but are anxious only for the unsurpassed way. Glosses on the right, bodies or lives, the element of body and the element of mind. Glosses on the left, care nothing for it, which means to never begrudge. So you never begrudge your life. Bodies or lives, even our bodies or lives. Never begrudge, even our bodies or lives. Summary. This passage is pointing out that our bodies and minds have been from the beginning in the nature of evil habits, impermanence, illusory, made up of the 4 elements and the 5 components, but the true reality of original enlightenment is something that abides forever. It is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Were you with me on that? I'll read it again. He's basically talking about we care nothing for our bodies, but anxious only for the unsurpassed way. Bodies or mind, bodies or lives is the 2 different elements for body and mind, which always are the same thing. Cannot have a body without a mind, cannot have a mind without a body. Care nothing for, which is never begrudge. It means willing to give anything, including your life. Then it qualifies further that never begrudge means bodies or lives. It means even our bodies or lives, we won't begrudge them. The summary then is saying, this passage is pointing out that our bodies and minds have from the beginning been in the nature of evil habits, impermanence, illusory, made up of the 4 elements and the 5 components. So fundamental darkness is part of our original state. Okay? The 3 obstacles and the 4 devils are all manifestations of ourselves. Okay? Of our own acts. Okay? To experience them from slant, whatever. But the true reality of original enlightenment is something that abides forever. In other words, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is there. It's not based on causal stuff. Okay? This is all causal stuff. Evil habits. You're from the very beginning, evil habits, impermanent, illusory, which is delusion, right? Made up of the 4 elements and the 5 components. seeming very temporary, but not really. You have always been none. But he says, but the true reality of original enlightenment, this is the enlightenment of the Buddhism of the harvest, is what he said in the first three sentences. And he says, but the true reality of original enlightenment, what's he talking about? Gotta be. And he says, anytime he says original enlightenment, he's talking about Kuan, and that is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay? Is something that abides forever. That is, it is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay? And then we get to the last one, we're done. Peaceful practices. For today. Okay? All phenomena are empty without being, without any constant abiding, without arising or extinction. Alternative reading. All phenomena are empty without being. Both non-being and being constantly abide, without arising or extinction. Okay, arising is, what is arising? All phenomena are empty without being. Okay, remember when I talked about the three states of illusion, or the three, what were we just talking about? Three categories of illusion. Right, thank you, dude. Okay, the three categories of illusion. We just talked about this, right? Were you congratulating him? I appreciate that. What's he talking about? He says, all phenomena are empty without being. Exactly what it says. Right. We're in non-substantiality. We are not a whole person.
Yeah.
Okay? Our five components have gone in different spaces to morph. All right? Or maybe they don't go anywhere. Maybe they don't have material form. I don't know. Doesn't matter. They'll come back together and I'll become another living being again. All right? Without any constant abiding. Okay? All phenomena are empty without being, without any constant abiding. I have no constant abiding to being Tom.
Right.
That's what it's trying to say. All of this stuff remanifests as something slightly different based on karma. Right? What did it do in this lifetime? If it didn't do anything, it could be the same. But if it did anything, it's going to cause a plus or a minus. All right? But what does without arising or extinction mean? What's without arising referring to? That there is no such thing as birth. There is no such thing as death. We have beginningless time. Okay? We don't ever have a beginning. And we don't ever have an end. That's the beautiful thing about our philosophy. We don't have a creator. We don't have a beginning. We don't have a punisher. We don't have a place to go if we've been bad. We don't have a place to go if even if we're good, we come back into evil in order to try and help people figure it out.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so all phenomena are empty. They don't have a permanent state of existence.
Makes sense.
But Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is a permanent thing. It's the only permanent aspect of reality. Okay? So it's without arising. It's never started and it's never ended. That's what that means. So he says, alternative read, all phenomena are empty without being. Both non-being and being constantly abide, because they've always existed. They'll always exist without arising or extinction. All phenomena, that includes us. That's the Dharma realm. Everything in the Dharma realm will never disappear and go away forever. Do you get it? Okay. You'll just change form. You transform. Yes. Summary, this passage is saying that since the wonderful law has always abided constantly, the coming into being and extinction or death of the living beings in the six paths has from the beginning been a non-coming into being. It seems like they're coming into being and being born, but they're not really being born for the first time in any way, shape, or form. Okay? And everything they come out as, they made for themselves. Their karma is what's reflected in what they manifest as. Therefore, it is said that there is no arising or extinction. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo has from the beginning been without arising or extinction. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
you.